Okay, welcome to part 4 of the Getting Started Guide to Banner Saga Factions, a multiplayer turn-based strategy game where you compete against a team of 6 Vikings, of your team of 6 Vikings, and try to win. So this this video, I'm going to be teaching you how to position your units at the start of the battle. So before the battle actually starts, you've actually got about a minute to place all your units where you want them, get them into the formation you need, so that way you don't lose right away. Start to set up your strategy. And I'm also going to introduce you to the Strong Arm, which is a new unit that they just put in late last week. Keep in mind there have been a lot of changes to lots of aspects of the game. I'll be touching on the new pillage mode which they've implemented, which is interesting. Talking about the strong arm. And there's also a slight nerf to armor break. They reduced the armor break of all units by 1. This is I think a good change. It still needs a bit more tweaking to get all the stats in the right place, but I think it's definitely good for the game to have slightly lower armor break. But it might be a bit much at the moment, but it'll come together once they make the next round of stat changes. But anyway, just to get into it, this is our new unit, the Strong Arm. He upgrades from the Shield Banger, so if you want to upgrade one for yourself, so you can take multiple out in battle, just go in, upgrade your Shield Banger, promote him up, continue. Don't click the Provoker. Provoker's really good at the moment, by the way. But go to the Shield Banger. You can check out his awesome ability, Battering Ram, which basically knocks a unit backwards 4 squares at the moment. Also breaks some of their armor. I believe it does 1 armor damage at the minute. And yeah, it's just really good for getting pesky enemies out of the way. It's good for clearing space. It's good for protecting your backline. It's just a really versatile ability that I definitely recommend at least trying out. Click on here. It's meant to do 2 armor damage, but I believe it actually does 2 armor damage to the target, and it also does armor damage to any units that he hits on the way through. So as the unit goes flying backwards 4 squares, if it passes through any units, it does armor damage to them as well. So it's a beta. It's still a little bit buggy, but it's definitely an awesome ability. The beta's just getting better and better each day. Now I'm taking a bunch of strong arms in this match. I'm taking 3 to maximize the chance that we'll get to check out their ability and what they do on the battlefield. Also, I think they're really strong because they can have really high armor and really high strength. And having both high armor and high strength means it takes a long time to kill them. It also means they stay a threat for a long time. With the lower armor break on most classes, it means that the enemy's got to break their armor quite a bit and he can punch them for tons of damage. He's got more strength than most units' armor. So I really like them. I think they're really strong. And I think they're especially strong because they also have the shield breaker passive. So test them out, try it out for yourself, see how you go. Also now notice we can take 3 Val. So 3 of these big guys that take up 2x2 squares, 4 squares into battle. So play around, try out some all-human teams, try out some 3 Val teams, try out everything in between. Try to find a strategy that you like and take it onto the battlefield, test it out, and see how you go. And even if it doesn't work out straight away, keep trying, because there's a way to make just about any build work in this game as long as you give it a couple of good shots. Okay, so let's get to battle. Let's see if we can find a game. Wonder how many. Yeah, there's a nice amount of people online, and we get matched in a game almost straight away against Apox Thero 1980. So he's a little bit older than me, but not too much. He's got a cool team. He's got 2 Warhawks at the front, followed by a Thrasher. And I didn't catch those last 2 units. But for now, we need to focus on the pre-game, which is setting up your units, getting them in the right position. Now my team's a bit weird. I've got all melee. But normally you're going to have some melee and some archers. And generally you're going to want to put your archers behind your nice big tough guys like these strong arms or provokers, stuff like that. What I like to do is click the first unit in the initiative order and place them where I want them. Then click the next unit, place it where I want it. and so on and so forth. So I just do this for all my units, just placing them one at a time. You don't have a whole heap of time, so make sure you don't dawdle too much, otherwise you will run out of time. And think about where you're placing your units. You want defensive units at the front. You want high risk, high reward units at the back so they don't get attacked straight away. So put your archers and your warhawks at the back. But don't set it up so they're going to get blocked. Make sure your units that are early in the initiative order can move up out of the way so the units behind them can move up and fill in the gap. So put warhawks just after your first unit, so that way he can move in through the gap that that unit creates, that kind of thing. So think a lot about the early positioning, because you can really get a big disadvantage or a big advantage based on how you place your units. And I'm sure you'll figure out how to do it really well after just a couple of games. So keep in mind that in the early game especially, things like warhawks can just charge in and temper straight away and do quite a lot of damage. So putting low armor units at the front line is very, very risky. I'm using these high armor shield bangers combined with these axemen, which give +1 to each adjacent, +1 armor to each adjacent unit. So you can see these guys have a ton of armor. This backbiter's got low armor, he's probably going to die really, really quickly. But he'll be a distraction so then the rest of these units can move in. Maybe, hopefully. Let's find out. So I'm actually going to be able to move my shield banger up, so that way this guy will get +1 armor, he'll get +1 armor. It's less than what he had here, but it's at least getting in position, so hopefully he either comes out and attacks me, or I can move in on the next turn and start doing damage. You can see this guy's unfortunately got his archers on the front line, so if my backbiters had a little bit more willpower, they could have moved in and done attacks straight away. But my opponent's capitalizing on me placing the units next to each other. So that's definitely good play. He gets that splash damage on the warhawk, which all warriors have. So when they hit a unit and deal damage, they also deal 1 damage to neighbouring units. You can see here he's kind of blocked his Thrasher in, so the Thrasher's just going to stand there and grant the armor bonus. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm actually going to do a weird thing. I'm going to use Battering Ram. I'm going to hit this warhawk, and that's going to pop him all the way back here behind his own units. So he's not going to be able to act anytime soon. Also, since he can't move these units out of the way, he's not actually going to be able to get into the battle. So this is a perfect use of Battering Ram. I'm really glad they buffed it, so now you can send Val through other Vals. And it also does a bit of armor damage. Does one to each of these guys. Awesome. This guy's out of the fight for a while, I can ignore him, focusing on knocking these guys down. Ah, I see what just happened. It doesn't actually do 1 armor to each of these guys. It does 1 armor damage, then 1 armor damage to this guy for each enemy he goes through. So he just took 3 armor from that hit. That is super cool. I like it. I like it a lot. So that's awesome. Cool. So I'm just looking around to see whether I could knock one of my guys a bit closer. Don't think I can right at the minute, but I'll definitely be keeping an eye out for that in future, because that is super cool. So yeah, definitely try out the strong arm. They seem really interesting to me. Can do quite a lot of armor damage even at rank 1, which is awesome. Like imagine if he had 4 units here, hit him through all 4 units, it's going to do 5 armor break to this guy. That's huge. That's huge. I'm definitely going to be using these guys a lot more in the future. So I'm just basically, I can't really attack at all, so I'm just going to keep moving my formation up. Then on the next turn I'll definitely be able to get in some attacks. My priority is going to be to attack this warhawk. Unfortunately though, he's used this backbiter to kind of block me in, so I can't get to him with my earlier acting units. All my early acting units are on this side, and all my later acting units are on this side. So we will get off a big hit on one of these units, but they've actually got quite high armor, so it probably won't hurt him too much. What I might do here is just walk up and break some armor. I have 3 armor break on my backbiter. I could have dashed through and tried to do a hit. It would have done 2 armor break and then 1 strength damage. Not really worth it at this point. It could have even missed and done nothing. So I'm better off with the 3 armor breaks. That way my strong arms can move in and do some damage. You can see that this Warhawk's basically out of the fight. He can't get through here. He's got to move around and go back up here, but then he's blocked. So what I'll focus on doing is just knocking down all these units, and then once he does finally get into battle, I'll start to try to deal with him. That was a nice armor break. Walk up, knocked off armor break. He wasn't going to get any strength damage in, so great choice there. I'm going to break some armor on this guy. I don't have anyone to knock him through, so trying to do a Battering Ram wouldn't have been worth it. And yeah, that knockback ability that the strong arms have is called Battering Ram. I haven't really mentioned that yet. I definitely should call it by its name because it's super rad. I'm actually going to use a special ability here. It's going to do 2 armor damage and a little bit of strength. But mostly it's going to let my Thrasher move up and get off an attack on his turn. So I'm mainly using it for the armor break and the repositioning, so that way my Thrasher can get in. And this guy can kind of circle back around here if he wants, or break the armor of this Warhawk. But he's probably going to eat some swords before he gets to do much more. That's fine. You can sacrifice 1 unit to get better positioning overall. It's all about trading off different things against each other. So one other thing that's new to the game is what's called pillage mode, which is basically once you get one player gets down to the last unit, the other player, the player that got him down to 1 unit, gets a massive advantage. Which basically means they get a bunch of turns in a row, so they can just clean up the player with less units. So it gives the person with more units a big advantage once they get the enemy down to the last unit. So it's definitely worth thinking about. It basically means that if you can get your opponent down to 1 unit, you can often win the game unless you've had all your units maimed. So unless they've got an absolutely massive advantage in terms of the number of sats they have. I'm going to keep circling around here with this guy. With this build, this set of guys, I don't really have to defend anyone. I just need to constantly reposition on each turn and do as much damage as I can. So I always want to move and attack to try to surround around and get to these squishier units without exposing myself too much. You can see, so these guys can come in and try to target the Siege Archer. I do need to knock some more strength off this Warhawk first though. Warhawks are like the early game threat, and then like backbiters and archers, and then everything changes a bit later on. So I'm going to move up. I'm actually going to use Bloody Flail, so this will do some armor damage and some strength damage. I don't have a lot of strength and he has a fair bit of armor. I can't break much armor, so this is going to be the most cost effective for me at the moment. So you've probably played a couple of games by now, and you're starting to see that basically each time you kill an enemy unit, it actually gives your opponent an advantage. It actually increases the efficiency of their turn. So if you think about it, if I had 1 unit with 20 strength and 20 armor, and my opponent had 6 units, each with 5 strength and 5 armor, I can run around one-shotting all his units and getting a turn after each of theirs, and he's really not going to be able to beat me in that kind of situation. I might actually use run through on these two. Means I'll have to save the archers for later. Yeah, I'm gonna go for it. I don't know if this is the best move here. I'm probably better off attacking the archers. I can do a pretty effective hit on these two, so knock off 4 armor total. So because killing units actually gives your opponent an advantage, you're often better off maiming them, so trying to get them down to low life. It used to be that you could run in, do 1 lot of armor break or 2 lots of armor break, pump it with willpower, and then go off a nice big strength hit, and that unit would be maimed. They'd be on like 2 life, and that'd be them done for the game. But that's no longer the case really. you need to do quite a bit of armor breaking. So now basically maiming kind of involves doing a little bit of armor break, doing a little bit of strength damage. So you can see I've done a little bit of armor break, but now he's got 15 strength and can hurt all my guys, so I want to do a little bit of strength damage, then do a bit more armor break, then a bit more strength damage, and so on and so forth. So you've got to kind of keep whittling them down, not letting their strength stay too high, not letting their armor be so high that you can't hit them for strength damage, and just slowly working your way through them. So some kind of maiming is the most important thing to do in the game. It always has been. The turn mechanics really encourage it. But now you got to keep in mind pillage as well, because basically if you can get your opponent down to their last unit, if you can kill all their unit except for the last ones, you're going to get a massive advantage. So you kind of want to maim them and keep them all getting lower and lower, and then once you've got them all nice and low and there's a lot of enemies that you can kill in quick succession, then you want to pounce and take them all out, so then you can easily take down the last unit. Even if that last unit has quite a lot of stats, if you've kept your stats up, you're going to have no problem taking them down. So you can see I'm not really doing too well here. My opponent's playing really well. I forgot to say greetings, which isn't a good move, so make sure you always say nice things to your opponent, like good luck, have fun, may the gods smile upon you, that kind of thing. Because you never know how the game's going to go, and they might have something to teach you, you might have something to teach them, or it might just be a friendly exchange. But yeah, this game's like super even at the moment. I've got these two guys which are pretty tough, but all my other guys are looking really battered. His Warhawk still looks pretty scary, this Archer still looks pretty scary, so it's really anyone's game. He's actually killed one of my units. So remember I was saying killing units not so good. So I've actually got a bit of an advantage here, so let's see if I can... okay, so I would have an advantage, but I'm going to do a stupid thing and I'm going to kill this unit. So now we're back to being even. So basically, if I had 6 units, if I had 6 units and he had 6 units and he kills one of my units, that means I've got 5 units and he's got 6 units. So that means each time we go through a full turn, all 6 of his guys act, all 5 of my guys act, and then my first guy gets to act again. So if I have higher average stats than if I had a maimed unit that just has 1 life, all my last guys have lots of strength and lots of armor, they're going to be getting more turns, so they're going to be a lot more effective. So having units that aren't maimed is really strong. Having fewer units than your opponent is really strong until you get to the point where they can pillage you and just take out your last unit really easily. Now of course the pillage oh, I got really lucky on those hits. I got all strength hits, which basically maims that Warhawk and I don't really need to worry about him too much anymore. So that could have just won me the game. We'll find out. Oh! And he surrenders. So he could see that that unlucky chain of events against him has cost him the game. So one thing we like to do, if you are playing the game and you can see that you're about to lose, your last unit's about to charge into victory and go down in a glorious battle, type Valhalla to your opponent, scream out a last war cry before you go down. So that's it for part 4 of the Getting Started guide. I've started to introduce some more advanced concepts there. Of course I haven't been able to explain them very well because it's going to take lots of playing to really get a good grasp of them. But I'll be recording some more advanced videos soon where I'll try to play some games where we get down to the end game and you can start to see those turn mechanics coming into play. So those guaranteed turns, giving one player or the other player an advantage which they can capitalize on. And I'll try to show off the pillage one. So I'll try to play another game tonight, see if we can get a pillage so I can show you what that's all about. It's really cool. All you guys get to act before the last enemy, so you can gang up on them and take him down nice and quick. So in a situation where you would have won anyway and it would have taken a lot of time, it can really speed things up. And it also does make it a bit harder for the enemy to come back. So if they've played okay but not really good enough, they can't really do a massive comeback and suddenly take the victory from you. So interesting mechanics, and hopefully we'll check it out soon. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll be recording some more real soon. So keep an eye out and keep playing Banner Saga. It's awesome.